Good morning. I'm mulling it over, Michele, and this is episode number 18. The answer is stress. Welcome to the I Cut the Mustard show, where you'll learn how to stop stressing, stop stress eating, and start fitting into those skinny jeans. Because whether it's belly fat or bloating, stress stinks. But don't worry. You've got what it takes. You're sharp enough. You cut the mustard. Hey. This is the debut episode where I'm announcing a shift in the podcast where we're going to talk more about stress and stress eating. So attention. The answer is stress. My husband and I often joke about this, but whether it's a bloating or belly fat, stress is a big deal in our lives, and emotions have way more power than you might think. I'm going to go through tons of examples today, and I want to hone in on digestion and weight gain because that's where I want to focus the rest of this podcast. But before I dive into all of that, let's just talk about stress in general. I'm just going to start throwing out to you loads of examples where stress is the problem, where stress is the answer. I remember my friend in first grade when I went to her birthday party. She was sick the whole time, and her mom said that she would throw up at her birthday party every year because she was so excited or so nervous or something emotional was going on. So doesn't that stink? You are excited about a birthday party, but you're just making yourself sick with nerves, right? Or we've heard people who faint on stage, or your throat just closes up and you can't talk, right? You're literally speechless on stage for fear of stage fright, right? For my husband, he gets these phantom pains where they're just completely unexplainable. And I remember in college after we had gotten married, he had this pain in one leg, and then it would move to his shin, and then it would move to this other leg, but it was just really, really severe pain, and we couldn't figure out what was going on, so we went to the doctor, and we looked it up on the internet, and this is a total thing, that this pain comes, and it comes from stress, and you often know that it's from stress because it has absolutely no physical reason to be there, and a lot of time it moves around, so crazy. Another example with pain, I thought that wasn't my problem, but once whenever I was working at Spanga, it's a fitness company, I was just really nervous about my performance. I had just started as a fitness instructor there. It was my first fitness instructing job, and I really wanted to impress the managers and keep my job and get more classes on my schedule. So I just remember one day in particular just being so nervous. And before the class, I was talking to my friend and I couldn't even get down and do a push-up to demonstrate a push-up. And I thought, oh no, what's going to happen during class? But luckily, I knew that the answer was stress. And I knew that once I got started and I got excited, it would probably be fine. And guess what? It totally was. And whenever we got to that part in the class, I just got down. I did a push-up, no problem, had absolutely no pain. The pain came right back to a lesser degree after the class was over, but so wild, right? So the mind is so powerful. And I still remember in my high school, a psychology class, hearing about a woman who made herself pregnant. She wanted to be pregnant so bad that she grew a pregnancy belly. And maybe I've shared that before because it's just so wild to me that you could grow a belly, but there was nothing in it, right? Our mind just will do things for us. It is so crazy. Also, stress is one of the reasons that they believe that men don't live as long as women. For a number of reasons, right? They say that men maybe don't take care of themselves. They don't eat as healthy as women, but also that even in other cultures around the world, men typically don't live as long as women. And they hypothesize that that's because men are more stressed out about work and providing for the family. And maybe their body's more stressed as well. But when I was reading the Blue Zones book, it's a book about where they go and interview different people who are centurions who live to be over 100, and they go to specific zones in the world where there's a lot of people that live to be over 100. So one of the zones that they visited in that region, the men actually tended to outlive the women. And they were looking into it and they found that the women were more stressed out in that culture than the men were. And Dan Buettner and several of his team conclude that stress has a major role in our longevity and our health. So that was pretty cool. I was reading another book, The Big Leap, and I can't remember who it's by right now. I'll have to look it up and put it in the show notes for you. But there's a famous psychologist, and he worked with people, like high-performing people, musicians, and big executives and things. And he noticed in his life and his practice that these random things just come up to self-sabotage us whenever we are stressed out or we don't want to do something, or honestly, even when things are going well, but we're kind of stressed or worried about that thing going well, then just these random unexpected things will pop up. Some examples he mentions is that you get a sore throat whenever you have a speaking engagement and you can't do it. Or you're really worried about going to work, so you just get so sick and you can't go to work. He also gives some examples of being like too successful or life going too well and how that self-sabotage happens. So one couple had just gotten married. They were madly in love, but their families didn't like it so much. So there was some stress or tension there. And they got into this patch of poison ivy and just totally their whole entire body was covered in poison ivy. And he mentions some famous singers that he worked with and how a lot of them would self-sabotage their work or get into drinking heavily, or just all these other bad habits would come in because it was almost too much to bear, the stress of being successful or of having abundance in our lives. So there's a million more examples that I could give, but the point is that stress is a big deal. Emotions are a big deal. And today I want to hone in a little bit more on those two things that I mentioned before, on digestion and on weight gain. And the answer is stress in these areas as well. For me, you've heard me talk about my story with digestion and how I was driving myself crazy trying to figure out physically what's the problem with me, what do I need to eat, how do I need to change my diet and my environment in order to stop getting so many allergies. And then later I realized that stress was the huge problem. It was probably the reason that I got celiac disease in the first place, why I got my gluten sensitivity, and why I got all of my allergies and sensitivities thereafter. So really diving into that root cause is what helps us come out of this thing and see real results. And I also want to share with you Ryan's story, because his story is so powerful and cool to me, and that he was similarly struggling with digestive issues and enrolled in my 12-week program and saw some amazing results. So I'm just going to read with you what he had to say. He said, "For several years, I have dealt with digestive complications that have resulted in many trips to the emergency room." So wow. Through this course, the program, I was able to determine that stress was the root cause and make adjustments to my life. I've been pain-free for the remainder of the course. So I'm looking forward to the future where I feel empowered that I may continue to improve while I'm doing my very best. So that is an amazing story from Ryan. Congratulations. I'm so excited that you found relief from your digestion through just this simple realization that it was stress and working on some of those mindset tools. That is so awesome, because I know how it feels to just keep struggling, to go to the doctor and they tell you they have no idea what's going on with you. They don't have any solutions. They just have more tests and more medicine. Or for weight loss as well, which we'll talk about later, just going and trying all of those different things and feeling completely hopeless, like there's something wrong with you, or why isn't the weight coming off? Why isn't this working for me? So let's step back just a second and go over what stress does with our digestion. And the nervous system has two responses. It has the sympathetic response and the parasympathetic response. And you don't need to know what those words mean or anything, but basically we've got a stress response and we've got a relaxation response. And in the stress response, we're getting stuff done. We're going hardcore. We're focused on movement, I would say. It's more of a response that you get whenever there's stuff that needs to be done, right? So your body switches into this stress response where it goes and puts all of its energy into getting that stuff done. Like back in the day when you're running from the bear, it's putting all its energy into running from that bear, right? And it's taking all the energy out of digestion and out of healing. And the relaxation response is where digestion and healing happens, right? Your body's relaxed. It can take its time and energy and use it to digest, and it can use it to heal. So if you're not digesting, then it's healing. All right. And this is important to know because whenever you're stressed out, that means you're not digesting very well. It's not using as much energy in that digestive process. And my recent studies with the brain and energy and stress have shown me that 80% of our energy, we use 80% of our energy on making the other 20% available. So that means that 80% of our energy goes into finding food, making food, digesting food, getting those nutrients ready to use for the rest of the body, for the brain, and for other important functions, right? So digestion is a big deal. It uses a lot of our energy. And whenever we're relaxed, in that relaxation state, we can put more of our energy into digestion. So here's what happens. Whenever you're in that stressed state, your digestion slows down because, again, that energy is going to other places. Your body's focusing on other things. So digestion slows down. So that's whenever you feel your stomach in knots. That's whenever it just like feels like there's something in your throat and it's just not going down well, right? And that's why you get stabbing pain sometimes, or bloating, or constipation. I've noticed this funny correlation to whenever I'm repressing my stress and I'm holding something back. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to process it. That's when I also experience the most constipation. And my husband thinks it's hilarious, actually, because then whenever I do a good journaling session or I feel relief from a major issue that's weighing me down, then pretty soon after I head to the bathroom and he just always smiles on the way out like, how did it go? I can see that you're not stressed anymore. So there's all the intimate details of my life. But I think if you start to pay attention to it in your own life, you'll notice that your bowel movements, that your digestion is so related to your emotions and your stress. So stress also destroys your microbiome in your gut. So we've got those beneficial bacteria in our gut, right, that help us digest and keep things moving in there and help us to lose weight and all of those things. And whenever we're stressed out, it's creating an acidic state in our body and it's destroying that microbiome. So there's been studies that have shown that more stress is limiting the power of your microbiome, which is like a huge word, a huge buzzword right now. So if you want to have a happy gut and happy digestion, stress is not something that you want to ignore. Okay. So for me, in my personal experience, when I started to stress less, then I feel a lot better. My bowel movements are a lot more regular, right? And my tummy's a lot happier. It's a lot less bloated. It's awesome. All right. So over the next several weeks and episodes, we will continue to dive into what stress is and how you stress less so that you can experience that for yourself. But before we go too far, let's talk about weight gain. Weight gain is similar to digestion, right? They're so linked. If you're not eliminating your waste properly, that's a problem with weight gain, right? And if you're bloated all the time, you feel fat. It doesn't matter how big you are, right? And that feeling of feeling fat makes you want to go eat. I know it's wild, but you just feel discouraged and then you go eat whenever you have thoughts like that. So on a thought level, stress is a problem for weight gain because you feel terrible about yourself and you want to go stress eat, right? So stress eating, we all know what that's about. Whenever you stress eat, you tend to eat the wrong foods and way too many foods, right? But even without stress eating as part of the mix, your body is still that digestion slowing down, right? And you're still not digesting properly. It's putting your body into a storage mode, to, the slow down mode. So you actually tend to gain weight whenever you're stressed out, even if you're not stress eating. So stress is an important part of our lives, both for our digestion and weight gain, and tons of other things that I mentioned, like phantom pain and other things that are going on. So whenever we focus on stress, we don't ignore it, then we can start making strides in those areas in our life that right now seem a little bit elusive. Now let's go ahead and talk about, what do you do about it? First, I want to celebrate that stress is the answer. That is huge. We cannot overlook that fact, because just the fact that you know what the answer is makes you a lot less stressed, right? Whenever I was struggling with digestion, I had no idea what was going on. I was afraid. I was frantic. I was looking all over for an answer. And that space of I don't know is a scary, terrible place to be. A lot of us don't like to be there, right? And not knowing, feeling like there's no hope, right? And similar for Ryan, whenever I talked to him, right? It was fear of what's causing the problem. What do I do about it? What's going to happen in the future if I don't solve this problem? Right? So now you know the answer. The answer is stress. And just by knowing that the answer is stress, that's going to take a lot of stress off of you. There are still plenty of times when I struggle with stress and whenever I notice that it has an effect on my digestion. But now, whenever I notice that, I say, stress is the answer. And I don't have to run around freaking out about what food I ate, or if something was contaminated, if I'm getting another allergy or food sensitivity. I just know that most of the time it's stress, and I can often pinpoint what's going on, and I know what to work on. So it's not like an added layer there of fear and stress. I'm not stressed about my stress, right? Because I know that it's stress. Isn't that funny? So just knowing that it's stress is a huge, huge deal. And I've created a quiz for you. Like, if you're still uncertain, thinking maybe stress isn't really my problem, maybe it's not really impacting my life, you can go to icutthemustard.com and right on the homepage and just take the quiz there to see what your stress level is. Get your stress score and figure out if stress is really your problem, because the answer is stress. And when you know that, there's a lot less stress in your life, ironically. So that's the first thing I'd say. The second thing I would say, of course, is to have the right diet. I mean, here I am talking about stress, and maybe I'm making it seem like diet doesn't matter, but it absolutely does, right? Certain diets can reduce the amount of stress on our bodies. When you eat lots of fruits and vegetables, that has anti-inflammatory properties, healing properties, phytochemicals that are anti-cancer properties. All of that is going to support your body, and it's going to put less stress on your body. So you're going to emotionally feel less stress as well. So diet is definitely a huge factor. And I would consider diet first, and increasing those fruits and veggies and other whole grains and other nourishing foods that reduce the amount of stress on your body, eliminating processed foods, oils, sugars, meats, and dairy products, because they are very inflammatory on your body, and that includes eggs. So we'll go into that more in other episodes, of course, and we already have, but that is the diet that I recommend for the least stress on your body and the long-term health results. So what can we do about it? Number one, know that the answer is stress. That's step number one, and it helps you so much to stress less. Number two, focus on the diet, putting nourishing foods in your body. That's going to stress your body out less. Then there's tons of other things. My third thing that I'm going to mention today, though, is to have fun. That's the best way to stress less. And I just talked in episode 16 about how to have fun, how life is just for fun, and what 3 questions you can ask yourself whenever you don't feel like you want to, and how to do life because you want to. So those are my top three suggestions for today. We'll go over exercise and sleep and breathing and other mindset stuff in the future, but just start by observing for yourself. Maybe go take the quiz and see, is stress the answer for you? And as always, if you loved this episode and you feel like a friend really needs to hear this, then go ahead and just click that share button, send it on over and say, man, I found the answer for you. And they will thank you a million. Thanks so much for listening. Have a fabulous day. Is stress really your problem? Settle that question once and for all by taking the quiz at icutthemustard.com. Get your stress score and find out how stress impacts your health and happiness. Go to icutthemustard.com to get your score right now.